I'm confident that even the most locked-in gamer hasn't played something quite like Neighbors Suburban Warfare. You can see some influences and similarities to other games. It has the arcadey shooter feel of Team Fortress, the light tactical base building of a survival game, the slapstick physical humor of a goat simulator or Just Die Already, all in one anarchic post-World War II package. Had a couple of hands-on sessions with it, navigating its team-based home-wrecking action, and though its untraditional format will make for some rough first minutes, it was hard not to walk away from the over-the-top bedlam with a smile. There's maybe no more antithetical setting for Neighbors Suburban Warfare's team versus team base-building combat romp than the idyllic, prosperity-pilled 1950s American suburbs. But developer Invisible Walls wanted to make a game that was bright and colorful and would be striking at first glance and approachable to a broad audience. Art director Andreas Beck explained that the team had a vision of a neighborhood feud element for this game from day one, and the post-war optimism of this time period served as a resonant and satirical backdrop for that. What came together was a squad-based hybrid shooter and base builder that I got my hands on for a couple of hours with the dev team. Our goal was clear. We must infiltrate the enemy abode and destroy its essential items, like the stove in the master bed. This is much easier said than done, of course, as there are so many layers of variables and tactics that come into play during each match that chaos is unavoidable. It all starts with character selection. Each of the 8 available neighbors has their own signature starting items and special abilities, like Roseate Riveter-inspired Kim and her throwable pipe wrench that can build a special autonomous oil-spitting turret to defend her home when she's out pillaging. There were 2 available neighborhoods maps to choose from, each dictating where the neutral objectives will be, and each team can choose a specific house layout to use, each floor plan having its own different entrances and essential item locations. This felt like a lot to understand up front, but even though there's a county fair's worth of variability in each match, the pursuit of the perfect competitive combination is a bit of a fool's errand. When I asked the team if and how Suburban Warfare could appeal to the types of gamers that prefer a more sweaty PvP experience, the team stressed that the main goal of this game is to keep a lighthearted tone and a largely casual play experience. The design consensus among them was to focus on making cool things first and balancing them second. Unfamiliar traps and weapons that will inevitably knock out new players will feel overpowered until they realize that just about everything is that strong on purpose. The goal is to make everything feel impactful and encourage everyone to be a consequential playmaker when the opportunity presents itself. After choosing your avatar to commit minor crimes with and agreeing to what kind of house you're going to defend with your teammates and where you'll be defending it from your opponents, it's time to get to the dirty business of targeted vandalization. Your team of up to 4 must build all manners of tools, traps, and defenses in order to turn away your annoying, nosy neighbors, while also empowering your team to be even more annoying and nosier. Buying tools or basic fortifications costs money that you will earn slowly over time, but in lump sums by knocking out enemies. More valuable options become more available when you upgrade your workbench with spare resources found at construction sites, located at neutral points on every map. After buying starter tools, usually the crowbar since it helps destroy objects faster, every round of Suburban Warfare I played started with a full team sprint towards these wayward crates. My team was pretty good at making it out of ensuing brawls with a couple of resources without taking too many casualties. But the early moments where no one has special gear is where I felt the character selection and team compositions the most. Big bruisers like Chad can hold the front line and distract enemies long enough for someone else to snatch resources right out from under you. Or sneaky little bastards like this Dennis the Menace, Kevin McAllister hybrid, who can avoid the melee completely with his grappling hook and instead start attempting to break into your home while you're gone. Neighbors' individual special abilities remain impactful throughout the match, but ones with definite strengths above and beyond those never feel stronger than those first few minutes. After taking the resources back, we focus on locking down our house, lining the vulnerable parts of our fence with bear traps, repairing damaged doors and windows, and even setting up a small oil rig to turn our passive trickle of money into more of a sprinkler. All the while, both sides were taking turns poking at one another, sneaking to back doors and windows while causing a ruckus on the front lawn by either running up personally and trying to catch a poor homemaker slipping, or ordering a more bombastic offensives on the enemy in a form of delivery trucks that speed through the cul-de-sac and lob boxes full of fireworks at your foes. And then, after around 4 minutes of game time, night fell on our pitched battle. Besides making the battlefield darker, it also signals that the nocturnal guard for each house is up and prowling, and is devastatingly good at hunting down any enemy that steps into your property and eliminating them with extreme prejudice, until the sun rises and the chaos ensues again. Exchanges between squads, be they in the streets or in each other's living rooms, were always tense because the more dangerous weaponry, like a sledgehammer or a pressurized cannon that shoots oranges, can do players in quickly. And yet, the hammer is slow, and the cannon, one of the few ranged options in the game, is hard to aim and slow to fire and reload. This is all by design to encourage players to stay close. The Invisible Walls team driving their focus on keeping the most effective and easy-to-use offense's close-range options forces players to engage with one another instead of trying to take sniper positions or control the field from afar. It doesn't constrain their weapon options from walking more on the wild side, though. Many of the options operate as you assume they would, but then there's some tricky takes on household items, like the vacuum that can suck enemies into bashing range. You can build a chicken coop and toss their eggs at foes to blind them. With enough investment in your workbench, you can get access to my favorite option so far, a seagull that you can fly to bomb enemies like a Call of Duty kill streak reward. The cartoony madness is lots of fun, moment to moment. During the course of these cycles across the rounds I played, the biggest issue I found was feeling like I wasn't doing the right thing at the right time. I wasn't searching for the most efficient ways to spend money and resources, so much as feeling like I was actively contributing to the overall goal of compromising the enemy's home to a permanent end. Picking up the basics is easy, but learning how to know when to go all out on the enemy or when to pull back and defend was something that I couldn't intuit in my brief time with Neighbors. The team agreed that getting a player to know the metagame of something like this in just a couple of rounds is challenging. They've seen playtesters grow into sharp, knowledgeable players over a half a dozen games or so it's not impossible to let go of this worry and embrace the madness. So is Neighbors Suburban Warfare the next big party shooter? I'm not so sure how it'll stand up against genre juggernauts, but it will certainly stand out. Two geezers shaped like Mr. Magoo and Evel Knievel exchanging plunger crossbow fire in the street only to get hit by a delivery truck tossing bombs into the front yard is a scenario you aren't going to find in your current favorite team shooter. And Invisible Walls likes it that way. They don't want to replace your favorite game, they just want to be the Mad Men-coded funhouse you spend your off time in. For more on the latest upcoming games, don't miss our previews of Jump Ship and Frag Punk,